It's my feel-good breakfast show.
A feel-good breakfast show. This is Expresso. We're talking about something this morning that's very, very dear to my heart. So, of course, it is World Breastfeeding Week, and we're talking to all our moms and I guess our babies as well this morning. A campaign that's aimed to create awareness in support of women who are breastfeeding. And this year's theme is breastfeeding at work.
Exactly. I can relate as well. Of course, my wife's still breastfeeding. Now, with us in studio to talk about the do's and the don'ts when it comes to breastfeeding at the workplace, we have Catherine Day, spokesperson for the Association of Dietetics in South Africa. And Catherine is also a registered dietitian and a lactation specialist. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege to be here to share the messages of breastfeeding and to, of course, promote and support breastfeeding mothers.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I want to launch straight into in terms of what does the Employment Act says when it comes to breastfeeding mothers at a workplace? What are they entitled to?
Yes, so I'm not sure that many mothers know this, but the basic Conditions of Employment Act actually allows all South African breastfeeding women 2 30-minute breaks to be able to either breastfeed their child if they have on-site childcare, or to express the breast milk during that time. So if women don't know about this, they're not sure whether or not to actually tell the workplace that they are entitled to it.
That's awesome because, I mean, I'm thinking of, and I'm going to say it, breast getting gorged, you're at work, you need to express it. Okay, so there is an allowance. You're allowed that time. For mothers returning to work, I mean, to start breastfeeding, it can be daunting in itself. Now you have to go back to work and you have to do it. What tips can you provide? How can we make this whole process a whole lot easier?
Well, I think it's very important to engage with your employer to let them know that you will be returning back to work and that your goal of breastfeeding will still be in place. So they need to support breastfeeding in the act, that they need to actually have a room or an area that is designated for breastfeeding women to be able to express that breast milk, and that privacy is given within those 30 minutes that they are entitled to. They can also make sure that there's storage facilities within the workplace, so to store the breast milk in a refrigerated area. And then they can also create awareness about breastfeeding, because I think some other employers or employees may not know that the women are entitled to this, and certain perceptions are created around breastfeeding. So to allow those women to be able to have that time, and then, that really helps the woman in the end of the day, because then she's able to be happy in her workplace, it increases productivity, and that is only good for the employer at the end of the day. Yeah.
Now, breastfeeding, it is a rather personal thing, and like Ilana said, taking it out of the home environment, all of a sudden into the work environment, and like you mentioned, also it's very important for companies to really try and accommodate breastfeeding women in the workplace. But what message could you give to breastfeeding moms out there returning to work? How could they make the process a little bit easier on themselves?
So yes, I think it's for a new mom especially, there's a lot of anxiety around this time, and so it's important that they get the help that they deserve. So dietitians and lactation consultants are trained to be able to help mothers do that, and dietitians especially can calculate the amount of milk that the moms need to express during that period of time, so they don't have anxiety of, this is too little milk, or how am I doing? And so dietitians can help in that phase. And then the best advice, I think, is building up a milk store before they actually return for work. So storing that breast milk in the fridge or the freezer, and then if there is ever a problem, they have a backup plan in place, and that again reduces that anxiety.
Thank you so much for talking about this. I think it's an issue that involves all of us. I always say we were all babies once. So if someone at work is breastfeeding, support them. Try and respect their privacy as well. And if you're a husband, hey, support your wife.
Absolutely. And also the colleagues at work, man, support the breastfeeding women. I mean, it is, rather intimidating process as well. But let's find out what's still ahead on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Kat, what do you have, my man?